on this episode of Southern Fried Geekery.
He's a desperate man in a desperate situation, and as desperate people are wont to do, he acts desperately. I mean, there's a whole lot of desperation.
If you're following, kids, the word of the day is desperate. Desperation.
Brought to you by
the letter D and the number 5.
So did you guys see the new Spider-Man trailer for the Ultimate Spider-Man?
Yes. Yeah. It was amazing.
Yeah, I really like it. I'm pretty hyped.
If it's the only way we're getting Miles Morales into the MCU, I'll take it.
I love Spider-Verse, the comic book that they did. And they're supposed to be bringing those characters back. It was just really cool seeing like alternate universe versions, and like they went to that level, right? Of like they brought in Spider-Man, which if none of you guys know is Japanese Spider-Man, and he had a giant robot, and he's the emissary of hell. I doubt we're gonna get him in the movie, but I love everything they're doing in this movie, and the animation looks insane.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Oh yeah, the animation looks stoked. You know, I mean, you get those scenes where Miles Morales just flies in. It's just it really did capture the spirit of that. I was not expecting this to be great, but it just looks like I want to see this in theaters, man.
Absolutely.
And I kind of wasn't expecting them because with all the success that they've had for the live action movies, wasn't really expecting to get an animated movie in.
No,
like this. But I feel like if they're gonna do that universe, then instead of them trying to do a live action version of it, then it's a perfect way for them to get into it as an animated movie.
Well, and as young as they're presenting Peter Parker in the actual live action films, it makes sense that they would want to hold off on doing another teenager, like Miles Morales as a teenager and stuff, and wanting to do that in another venue. That makes complete and perfect sense. Do we want to talk about that little reveal at the very last of it, or we want to keep it I mean, it's on a trailer, so it's not really a secret, right?
Yeah, go for it.
Spider-Gwen.
Yeah.
I mean, that's already a huge character at cons.
Get your first Spider-Gwen appearance graded.
So yeah, who all else are you hoping for it? Because I mean, in Spider-Verse they had Spider-Punk, which was fucking awesome. They had the Captain Britain Spider-Man.
My favorite version of Spider-Man, and this people are going to think this is weird because honestly, it's my favorite, even above Peter Parker. Yeah, is Spider-Man 2099.
Yeah,
I'm a huge Peter David fan as a writer, and so when you get that, like I have that entire series. I love that series. So I really hope we get him at some point.
And then was it Spider-Man Noir?
Oh yeah. That was good stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to be a little disappointed if Superior Spider-Man's not in there.
Oh man,
I don't know how they'll do it real well, but I hope he's in there.
Like, clearly can't do the actual origin of Ben Reilly, but that costume alone needs to make an appearance. I fucking love the movie.
Yeah.
I honestly was always more of a Ben Reilly fan than I was a Peter Parker fan. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's high hopes.
What is the spider? I always mess up his name. Spider Pig.
Spider-Ham.
Spider-Ham. Yeah, I want him. Anyway, so you guys ready to do a podcast?
Yeah, let's roll.
Well, let's do it, man. Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 23 of Southern Fried Geekery. I'm Caleb Alexander McKenzie.
I'm Craig Lance.
I'm Sean.
I'm Jerry. Craig switched seats, and now it's kind of thrown us off.
We're not going counterclockwise anymore.
Yeah, so a little behind the scenes. A lot of podcasts record through Skype. We all sit at the table. We all get together once a week and break bread, if you will, as fans and friends.
And
we
used to when Jerry would bring donuts.
Oh yeah, Jerry quit bringing donuts, but I think that's more to save some of us.
I'd have to stand in line behind all those church people and everything before I got here.
But so we all come over to Craig's lovely home, the Casa de Craig, and we sit around his table. But Craig switched spots on us this week to kind of help make some of the microphones sound better, and it really does. But it's messed up the loop, so we're gonna have to get used to it. But we are glad to be back together again. I think this is the 23rd episode. This stuff is rolling on, and we're having a great time.
You think it's the 23rd episode?
I think
we've had my notes say, so I'm going to assume it's the 23rd.
We've had a couple.
We're not counting alternate timelines of special guest interviews.
I was going to say we've had a few episodes that I didn't number just because they were short snippets or they were special interviews with certain people and everything. I didn't count them as the the hard-lined episodes. But we're glad you guys came back to join us. We really enjoy doing this. It's been a lot of fun. It's going to keep being a lot of fun. You can check us out on all of our social media stuff. We're everywhere. And we'll get to a little bit of that later. But right now, let's talk about some nerd news, guys. There's some stuff that's been going on just everywhere. And I think we're going to start off with a little bit of a solemn kind of thing. And I'm gonna throw this to Sean because this is really, really important to him.
Yeah, a little bit of bad news. If anyone has been following the news, you've probably heard about what happened with Anthony Bourdain. He took his own life here recently, and it's I'm actually taking it a lot harder than I thought it would. I am a big fan, which is not surprising. Big fan of his travel shows, No Reservations and Parts Unknown. They were just him traveling the world, showing you different cultures, and it was all based around food. As if you don't know, he was a famous chef for a long time. But that's basically what he's known for. Very honest, very blunt person who would travel the world and show you cultures, talk about food and just getting out there and living life. And the other thing about him that a lot of people may not have known was actually before he decided to become a chef, he wanted to be a comic book writer. He actually, very famously, he's always been very open about his past issues with drugs. And he said one of his greatest regrets was selling his comic book collection for drugs. So, but here later in life, he finally got his chance. He actually wrote 2 of his books that I have read. One is called Geekery. It's about a sushi chef who is a former Yakuza who will kill you for eating sushi wrong and ends up getting on the wrong side of the mobsters. It's created by Anthony Bourdain. I believe he co-wrote it with Joel Rose, with art by Langun Foss and Jose Villaruba. And if I pronounce any of your names wrong, feel free to come on the podcast and fight me about it. Or share some great stories of working with Anthony Bourdain. That came out a few years ago. It's a good read. He has 2 trade paperbacks available. Go check them out if you can. And currently he did a 4-part book series. Only 3 have been published so far, called Hungry Ghosts. It's this, again, centered around food. As I said, food is obviously one of his big passions in life. But it is like ghost stories and
like yokai and
this is from Japanese to other stuff just about, and it's centered around food, but it's just about hauntings. Mm-hmm. The 4th volume hasn't come out yet. We're waiting on that. They've been great. His travel show was really what got me knowing the guy. He's always very blunt, very honest kind of guy. You can appreciate that about him. A lot of people said this, he's passionate about things. But the reality is that he did have some demons, it seems, and it ended up with him taking his own life. So it kind of shows like people have problems out there.
What's that old saying? Still waters run deep.
Yeah.
You never know what's under the surface. You never know what somebody's going through, and it doesn't matter if they're a world-traveling, multi-millionaire, very successful individual, or if it's that guy you see on a street corner. You just never know, and it's really unfortunate.
So my wife brought up a good point. We were talking about this the other day, and Stephanie said that people need to quit saying that somebody committed suicide and start saying that they died from suicide.
Right.
Because committing means that they actually had a choice in the matter.
They're the perpetrator as opposed to a victim.
Or it's a sickness. And so many times we find out that these people have suffered from clinical depression, which is a chemical imbalance. It's not a weakness. It's something you're literally born with. Your brain does not produce enough chemicals to tell you that you can be happy sometimes. And without getting the proper treatment, this is something that can happen. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. So many people look at mental health as a weakness instead of as an actual sickness that it is. Yes, there's 2 different kinds of depression. There's situational and clinical.
Right.
Situational, get in and go see a counselor and get the help you need. Clinical, get the medicines you need and get the help that's available.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just real depression, whether like I said, clinical or situational. It's real. Life can be hard. Life can bring you down. I don't talk about it too often, but even I've had my issues growing up. Luckily, it's always been situational, and I've had good friends and family who brought me out of my darker times. But some people don't have that luxury. Some people don't have that option or don't feel they have that option. So if any of our listeners out there, if you're ever feeling down, you're ever feeling in that dark place, that dark passenger, as they call it, that is just riding you, there is help out there. And just in case you don't know, there is a suicide hotline. If those thoughts have ever crossed your mind, so feel free to call them anywhere, anytime. It's 1-800-273-8255. I'm not trying to get too dark, but it's like, this shit's real, and it can affect you and the ones you love. Just Just seek help and just do what you can.
Well,
Shit gets hard, shit gets tough, but it gets better. It can get better.
I want to throw something else out there. A lot of times we put the onus on the person who's experiencing depression and who is suicidal to be the one who seeks help. Not to get too deep. I've been in some pretty dark places. Sometimes you don't have the power to step out and seek help. If you're somebody and you notice like little things, you see an attitude change and you see somebody struggling, don't wait for them to reach out to you. Go talk to them, man. Go sit down with them. Go spend some time with your friends. Go spend some time with your families. Don't put the onus on them to have to ask for help. A lot of times that's incumbent on the people that surround them.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of times you just don't have the ability. There was a time when I could not ask for help. And it was some really good friends literally kicked in a door and dragged me out of that dark place.
Yeah.
So
I'm
anyway,
thankful for those really good friends that did that.
yeah, man. Rest in peace, Chef. Sean really did love this guy, and it's hard to see. It's weird when celebrities pass away from anything because you don't actually know that person. That person's not, but they're still a part of your everyday life. And so you always see those people on the internet are just like, oh, this is stupid. You didn't actually know, but you did. You invited them into your home, into your life, and so it hurts.
I mean, like the backlash over like Chester Bennington.
Yeah.
Whenever he committed suicide, like
Well,
it was just ridiculous.
And you should have seen me when Carrie Fisher died. I mean, you guys did, but a lot of our listeners didn't. It does affect you because, as Caleb said, you let them into your lives. They don't necessarily know you, but you know their characters and who they portrayed, and it's sad. So, moving on from that into some lighter news, maybe.
Yeah.
Caleb, you got to be a guest host on another podcast. Are you leaving us for another podcast?
No, I'm not. I'm not leaving you.
Did
for
you
another
take my
podcast.
application?
I did let them know we had co-bears. We had the straight version of bears that could come on. No, yeah, I got invited to come be a part of the Comic Book Bears podcast. It's a really fun show. It's done by bears. So if you're not a member of the gay community, you might not know what a bear is. Bears are a genre, a subset of gay men who larger, hairy guys, typically bigger, girthy. I'm genetically predisposed to not be able to grow facial hair, so I call myself a hairless bear or a beard deficient bear cub. But yeah, so I got to go on this podcast with those guys with some really good friends of mine, Bill, Steve, and Brian. I met Bill a long time ago on the 11 O'Clock Comics forums, and so we've been friends. But he invited me to come on, and we got to sit and chat about some of the bigger nerd movies that have come out, stuff like Infinity War, Deadpool 2, and Solo. Go check it out. I posted it on our Facebook feed, just the link, because y'all said I could. So it's also on. You can look those guys up. They've got a web presence. They're on social media. They've got their own website. They publish through Libsyn just like we do. So they're on iTunes and SoundCloud and all that fun stuff. But yeah, go listen to it. I had a really good time. I want to thank those guys for letting me come on. I was the first of many. I hope I get to go back because it's just a really great time. And I love their show. I've been listening to it for a long time, and that was kind of like a landmark moment for me to get to go. It's kind of like meeting a celebrity that you really like. And I got to sit and chat with mine, and I had to remind myself that I was actually on their show and not listening to it because their voices sound the same. So, but yeah, no, a lot of fun talking about movies with those guys.
And little extra spoilers. I'm not from Honduras.
You are not. You are not from Honduras.
I'm not Honduran. My mother is not Honduran. Despite what Caleb may tell you on such podcasts as Comic Book Bears.
So
I am not.
What?
Full disclosure. So the guys on Comic Book Bears allowed me to talk a little bit about our show. And so I was given the rundown about what it was, that we talk about comics, that we do roundtable, who everybody is, what they talk about, and how we're, even though we are 4 men, we're a little bit of a diverse cast. Gay dude. Sean is in a interracial relationship. His wife is a woman of color, but he is also a biracial man. They record at night and not like us in the morning, so there was wine involved, and I'd already gotten a few cups in and was having a great time. I accidentally said Sean was Honduran versus Colombian.
Where did you even get Honduran?
That's what I said.
Don't know.
Do you even know what a Honduran is? Like, where did your mind even get that word?
I've
Map-
never heard you talk
Maps
about
and wine.
Hondurans.
I don't know. Maps and wine.
I can now add it to the list of my friends who don't know anything about me. That Honduran, Brazilian, and Cuban has been the common. Yeah, you're not the first.
I think
Yeah,
Cuban
this is why
was
I'm-
the last one that I said.
I was gonna say,
Yeah, I'm
guess
sorry.
people get it wrong a lot.
But
you
it wasn't Honduran.
I've never got it wrong, Sean.
Thank
because
you,
I
Craig.
love you.
Thank
You are in
Craig. I
fact
love
Colombian.
you too.
So I apologized. I own up to my mistakes. I fixed it, kind of. And I deserve I'll take the beating.
I had to bring it up.
It is what it is. You're my favorite Hondurlambian.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, I guess I'll continue this on. Got some news recently from GameStop, one of my former employers.
Right? Oh, I forgot you worked there. Yeah.
That's where I first met you, but you have no recollection of that.
I don't remember it because, as Jerry will attest, the first time he met me, I was a complete fucking asshole to him because GameStop does that to people. And don't get me wrong, I'm not completely bad mouth. I use their service, but as an employee, as in many places in retail, will make you a terrible person.
We all like to black out that time that Jerry came into our lives.
You're welcome.
That may be the first time we met, but it definitely wasn't when we became friends. And I don't know if he even remembered me necessarily from the first time. Did you actually remember me from GameStop when we
Yes.
met at Kapow?
Yes.
That's pretty impressive.
see-
You still wanted to be my friend.
I was going to pay on a pre-order, and I think it was like little snow flurries and stuff. And I came in to put money down on it. And, I try to be that outgoing person that talks to the employee behind the counter.
You know, that annoying fucker who bugs you while you're trying to work.
And I'm like, yeah, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. And he just seemed completely pissed off that he was even having to be there. Like, he was looking at the weather, and he's like, well, people keep coming in, so we have to stay open. So I was like, all right, here's my money, bye.
He was his own little version of Clerks 3.
Yeah.
Dude, hey, you get there when you got balding tires and threats of snow at night.
Dog, I worked retail. I know the hell that it is.
Working in a hilly home. Not justifying you should never be a dick to your customers, but unless it's Jerry, then you can be a dick to your customers all damn day. Anyway,
So what's
we were
happening
going.
at GameStop?
Those lovely people that were nice enough to employ me for a few years are now starting to sell comic books.
Nice.
They are going full in because we all know that video games are moving to a digital platform. So it's not, and that now GameStop has been filling their stuff with stuff other than video games now. You're getting more toys, models, pop vinyls are all over their walls. And now they're going to another medium that's still fighting against that digital change. There will be honestly, I haven't looked too deep into the articles that have been posted about this. I'm assuming as it being GameStop, I don't know if it's gonna be a trade sell and are they offering trade-ins? A lot of people are already making the good old GameStop comments like I traded in my Amazing Fantasy 15 and got $3 for it.
Right.
As GameStop is, but you know what? I'm not gonna get into that because I don't always agree with those statements about GameStop. It shorts people on money because there's a lot to that. But what do y'all think of the idea of GameStop selling comics?
I mean, I personally think that any outlet for comic books is a good outlet.
Mhm.
Anywhere it's in front of people that aren't normally going to see them, I'm okay with. Right now, the way comics are distributed, you have to actively search out a comic book store and go find it and go buy comics from that comic book store, or maybe Amazon. But even on Amazon or things of that nature, you're usually buying trade paperbacks instead of the actual floppies, the monthly issues.
Yeah, it's become a very niche market.
But even in that instance, though, you're having to go search it out.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, you could go into a grocery store or a pharmacy, and they had spinner racks. And the spinner racks would be full of comic books, and you could go and pick out a comic book or two and take it home. And that's how a lot of people in my generation, full disclosure, I'm the oldest one in this group,
Second oldest, my first comic was bought off a spinner rack at a grocery store.
So,
Silver Surfer. I don't remember the issue, but Drax the Destroyer was on the cover.
Mine was off of a spinner rack and Walden books.
So, around apparently beyond my youth and into your guys' youth, but, that used to be the way kids found out about comic books, and it's a sorely lacking way anymore. And we know that kids are going to go into GameStop. So I'm for it. I don't think it's going to take away from the local comic book stores.
No, I don't think it's going to take away from the comic book stores at all. So it's actually really interesting. I've seen a lot of people online, on comic fan sites, in groups, kind of mocking this, lambasting it a little bit, saying it's not going to work, it's stupid. Kind of the same comments they made when Walmart tried to push trades not too long ago. So here's the deal. People who walk into comic shops are looking for comics.
Yep.
People who walk into GameStops are not particularly looking for comics, but they might find it. The people that are complaining about this are the same ones who are also complaining about how comics don't sell anymore. They're complaining, some of them are the anti quote unquote SJW people. They're the ones who are talking about how the industry's dying when it's not. It's just evolving. The more comics that are available to non-comic fans, the more prevalent they are in non-geek spaces, the more that they're going to sell. Back in the day, the pre-90s eras, when your average comic, not even just your top 10, your average comic was selling over 100,000 copies, that was because comic books were in shoe stores. Comic books were in grocery stores. Comic books were in bookstores that weren't necessarily comics.
Yep.
They were everywhere. Like you said, pharmacies. They were these places where they were impulse buys. That's why they sold numbers. And that's how a lot of people, like you said, a lot of people found those characters and fell in love with it and gravitated towards comic book stores. So I think people should give it a chance. I largely think it's a good idea. I have my pull box at my local comic book shop. On the rare occasions that I do have to make myself walk into a Walmart, I still go and I look at the little 3-packs that they sell and I see what they're selling. I go look on the book wall and see that they're selling trades, and I think that's wonderful. I think that we as a community should support that. We should open ourselves up. We should quit being gatekeepers. We should open our community up to the people who, what we call normies or whatever you want to call them, just your casual person who might see a movie and want to come back in. I think it's wonderful.
Heaven forbid we should promote the hobby we love.
Yeah, right. or be happy about seeing it outside the purview of geek culture.
Right. Stay away from my stuff.
Yeah,
I'm a geek. You're a normal person. Leave me alone.
Yeah, we want it to sell. We want it to last, but we want to block other people from coming into it. It makes no sense.
Absolutely none at all.
So if nothing else, parents out there, take your kid in that stupid fucking sports game they keep playing on their video consoles and go trade it in a GameStop and buy them a fucking comic book.
Sports games aren't stupid.
They are stupid. It's the same game every year, just with a new number on it.
I can't argue that. I love my show, but it's the same game. They Control V, Control P.
So in a bit of other comic book news, DC to be specific, I've actually been jumping on a lot of DC comics lately because, start of new storylines and stuff like that.
Does it leave footprints?
Sometimes.
Don't jump
well,
on
it's mostly
live your life, dude. Jump on your books if you want to. You bought them.
It's mostly because I didn't get to jump on a bunch of stuff when Rebirth started, so I'm kind of slow on the uptake, and I've been waiting for a fresh start. Well, it looks like I'm going to be starting Action Comics when number 1005 hits in September.
Nice.
Because they're bringing a character back that I've always been interested in. I've only read a little bit of, and that's the question.
What's the question?
The question
beat me to it.
as soon as the words came out of my mouth, I was like, someone's about to make a really dumb joke.
Leave it to Caleb for the dad jokes.
So the question is a character that was created by Steve Ditko in 1967's Blue Beetle #1 with Charlton Comics. He started off as the character Vic Sage, and then he later passed the mantle onto a Batman supporting character, Renee Montoya.
Yep.
Because before he succumbed to cancer in 2007's 52 number 38.
Yeah.
They haven't said which version of the question we're getting. I'm interested enough. Admittedly, I didn't fall in love with this character until I found out that Rorschach from Watchmen is based off of him. But I love it. Anytime whenever they had that Convergence miniseries, and they basically rebuilt the Watchmen characters, but with the people that they're based off of, like Captain Atom, Blue Beetle, The Question.
A lot of those old Charlton characters, yeah.
Yeah, I was really, really into it, really digging it. So it's going to be a mini series, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to reading more. Now, it being Brian Michael Bendis and the zany things that he's been doing lately, I'm a little on the fence because I don't know if it's going to be like Leonardo da Vinci under the mask this time or not. But I'm never letting it down.
Clearly, it's Donatello this time.
We're going on 3 episodes, and I'm still using that fucking joke. Okay, but no, I always love those more obscure characters as it is, so I'm pretty stoked about it.
So yeah, I feel like it's going to be Renee Montoya.
I'm hoping so, man. I really am.
For those of you that don't know, Renee Montoya, and maybe I missed you that you just said, but in in the 52 series is when they made her the Question, and it was really her story was really intriguing, and then they just really haven't done a whole lot with her since then.
Just I know Craig has. Have you, Sean or Jerry? Have you guys read 52? Like the actual, not the actual series 52.
See, I forgot about that series because I was about to say I remember reading something on her being the Question during Blackest Night. Whenever I was reading that, and I was like, that took place before New 52, but yes,
it's 52.
Yeah. I've always heard really great things.
I've got the complete series in the collected edition. Shoot me a text. I will send it to you or bring it to you or something, however getting it to you works. It's one, y'all know I'm a Marvel zombie pretty much. 52 is one of the best collected weekly series I've ever read. It is phenomenal.
So what happened with 52 and what the whole premise of that was DC did this.
What it was.
What they did do.
What they did, done, did.
So what the whole premise was is that DC did this whole thing where it didn't matter if they were in the middle of a story arc or anything. They just stopped and said 1 year later. You didn't know what happened. All of a sudden, Batman had a smile on his face. Martian Manhunter had a different shaped head. They changed the designs of people, made people different than what they used to be. And the theory was that a year's time had passed. And there were story arcs left unfinished. And
wasn't this the Flash's fault again?
Everything's the Flash's fault.
No, but wasn't this directly related after Flashpoint?
No.
This was
that wasn't
Flashpoint.
That was before. Okay, sorry.
So then what they did is they said, we're going to issue a weekly series that tells you what happens during that year. But it's not based on any of the main superheroes. So Booster Gold had a lot of stuff in it. Renee Montoya, Black Adam. It was some really, really good stories. And then they continued on afterward with Countdown, but that's a different scenario.
Okay.
So yeah, definitely should read it. It was probably one of the funnest events I've ever read.
I'm so dumb because I just got why they called it 52. Because
everything is 52.
There's 52 weeks in a year, which I actually read some of the arena stuff. Holy shit.
Yeah, Final Crisis was a lot of fun. I did get some hate, but I liked it.
Yeah.
All right. But yes, I hope it's Renee Montoya because I also hope that they bring back the love interest that was Kate Kane. Because Renee Montoya and Kate Kane were together.
That was a huge part of it. I honestly like both. I'm a little bit more further on Vic Sage just because he was in Justice League Unlimited. And
for sure.
So.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Marvel zombies, and jumping on Netflix, there's been some news about Iron Fist Season 2.
I thought there was a Marvel Zombies Netflix series. You got me really excited.
You wish. No, Iron Fist, the show most fans love to hate, is getting a second season. They are wrapping. Little tidbits of information coming through. One of the big ones is that he is supposedly going to be in his classic costume. Now, classic is a subjective term. I don't foresee the open shirt, high collar, yellow green. More maybe that Bruce Lee jumpsuit look he had in the early 2000s, I would think.
Yeah.
That's personally what I think is going to go with it. I think you would probably read on the screen a lot better. But I didn't hate the show. Like the martial arts there could have been moments where it was better. That drunk fight in the alley was still a damn good fight scene. I know people compare it to Arrow, but honestly, I enjoyed the whole him coming back to his company.
I don't think there's a good comparison.
People do though. Yeah. They dropped the whole billionaire owns a company, is stranded off somewhere, learns how to be a fighter, comes back.
Batman or
every other
there's just not a good.
But honestly, I enjoyed this. Especially his I'm going blank on names, but the guy he was friends with as a kid who kind of was running the company was like that relationship and all that was going on there. I thought it was good.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping season 2 they'll step up the martial arts. The main actor, hopefully whether it was him or who, we don't know who to blame for it. But hopefully everything's amped up and excited to see a costume.
Well, I think it was a stylistic thing they did as far as the martial arts and that. I think they wanted it to make him look like he was so good that everybody else was slow.
Indeed.
And I don't think it came off real well.
It just, the idea is there, but it doesn't always translate well into a martial art action scene.
Yes. So I think that's what happened with that. And as you watch the show, as it progressed, everything picked up in speed. And
as he fought more and more talented fighters.
Yes.
And by the way, Daughter of the Dragon, excellent standout.
Oh, yeah, it is.
She was great.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So
I like it. It's my least favorite of the Marvel Netflix thing, but that doesn't mean I hate it. I like it better than the last half of Luke Cage. I like it better than the last half of Daredevil season 2. I like a lot of things that are, my least
you
favorite.
mean
Still,
you can like something and not like something, and still
well, you
be
can
okay?
you can.
like something without it being horrible.
Well, no, I think it's just you can like something. There's a middle ground between love and hate on something.
What? No,
Yeah.
you haven't been on the internet. So some news that I'm really excited about, and we talk about different video games on here sometimes. Sean and Jerry were really excited about Monster Hunter coming out. There's a game coming out in holiday season of 2019, so I've already got it marked on my calendar. Jedi Fallen Order. It's going to be by Respawn Entertainment. It's going to take place between episodes 3 and 4, so between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. So it's going to presumably be the hunting down and killing of the remaining Jedi that didn't die in Order 66.
That's going to be awesome.
I mean, that's the only thing I could assume it's going to be. Or you're going to play a character that's still a Jedi, that's still alive, that's, trying to survive or something of that nature. So I'm super excited. It will be canon because it's, it's in this timeline. So that character, the characters from it will be canon. So I'm super excited about it.
So I have a question because I'm not a video game guy. But Respawn Entertainment sounds familiar. What else have they done? Because and if you don't know, that's fine. I
don't know. I didn't do that research for it, and
for some reason that
I'm
sounds
just
familiar.
glad it's not EA Sports.
Right.
Or EA, I guess, as they're called now, because maybe there won't be a whole bunch of loot boxes in it. And
pay to win model.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I hate that, man. Well, and I also hate games that you have to, actually be tied into the internet to play. You have to play with other people. I don't need some 12-year-old from Omaha cussing at me and calling me stupid names.
Their big hit was Titanfall.
That's what. Okay, yeah, because I have the first one of those games, and I've played it.
Actually, that's their only hit. They've literally made Titanfall 1 and 2, and now an upcoming virtual reality project and this game.
Dude, Titanfall was fun.
I haven't played the first one, but John and I played the second one for nearly a month straight. And then we stopped playing it after that because that's our lifespan with games.
Basically.
Sean would know, but I really loved it because it had giant robots.
Yeah, he loved Monster Hunter World for a whole month. But they left me.
Maybe from they had more monsters, but yes, you should be excited for your Star Wars game because Titanfall was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm super excited for it.
Can I come over and make lightsaber noises? I don't actually want to play the game. I just want to stand by
you.
Yeah, I was about to say, you don't have to. He doesn't have to have the game for you to.
I've got a lightsaber in there. I can sit there and
right?
watch TV while you swing the lightsaber around and it makes all the noises and be fine with that.
I want to be you when I grow up, Craig.
I think we all aim to be Craig when we grow up. Riding on that video game bandwagon, I got a quick one I just remembered I wanted to throw out there because the Star Wars info came out because E3 is currently going on.
Mm-hmm.
The electronic something.
There's two other E's.
I know, right? I can't remember what else stands for. It's the biggest video game convention going on right now.
Something Electronic Expo.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway,
we got 2 out of 3.
So we're getting a lot of news dropping, and you're probably going to hear more in the upcoming episodes. Kingdom Hearts 3, the game no one ever believed was going to come out, has a release date January 2019.
That's the Disney game.
Disney meets Final Fantasy, which is my fucking jam.
And speaking
and
of that, Craig, Sean was about to tell us the storyline of Kingdom of Hearts. So go for it.
Disney meets Final Fantasy. Nothing else makes any sense.
Good enough.
An amazing action RPG platformer that has a very convoluted story.
Electronic Entertainment Expo.
And you kill people with key swords.
You bash people with a giant key, which I don't believe was his original weapon. They were like, here, you need to open a big door with this. And he started whooping people's asses with the key instead of a sword.
So my husband actually really likes fantasy games. He's a big Diablo 3 fan. He still plays that game incessantly. He also loves Disney. Absolutely loves Disney.
Does he like 3D platformers?
He might. I don't know. But I think I'm going to...
There are HD collections on PS4. Give it a try.
I actually just played the first one, but 10 minutes of it, and then I had to do something.
Right.
But it was pretty awesome.
They're fun. It takes
about
once
played it.
Once you get a hand of the controls, because especially the first one, the controls are kind of wonky. You could jump, And I wouldn't say you can jump into the second one because the story doesn't matter, because all you need to know is like people are kidnapping Disney princesses to seal them off in their hearts. Other than that, it gets confusing as fuck.
I think the husband might get that as a present.
Might give it a try.
And he doesn't listen to my podcast, so he won't know.
Yeah.
Thanks for the support, babe.
Following along though on video game news is the Netflix original anime Castlevania. They has announced that they already are working on season 3.
And season 2 hasn't even released.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Exactly. Season 2 announced to be released this year, end of this year, with 8 episodes this time.
Nice.
And if anyone who might know the old NES games that this is based on Castlevania 3, with the characters that you can change throughout the game, with Alucard, Sypha, and the underappreciated, they have not put him in this, is Grant, the pirate who could climb walls in that game, and I used him all the fucking time. I'm hoping for an appearance from him in season 2.
So I don't have a history with the Castlevania game, but it's written by Warren Ellis, who, for my money, is one of the best writers in the business.
Yeah, which my understanding is that he was still involved in season 2, but he's not going to be involved in season 2.
Oh, really? Well, that's
yeah, but it's still fantastic. Watch it.
If I can be a devil's advocate then with our 50-50 rule, he very much Warren Ellis up Castlevania with the whole anti-church thing.
Yeah.
Never in the video games. But that's his touch. That's his spin. And it took 4 episodes to actually become Castlevania by the last episode where they went into actual Castlevania.
I really liked it.
It was solid.
Yeah.
But like him leaving doesn't necessarily upset me because maybe it'll be a little more focused on being Castlevania.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jared.
I did watch it. I really liked it. I wish the first season would have been longer, but we're getting more now.
Me too.
I have personally never played a Castlevania game. That being said, I did play a Pathfinder game that was based around Castlevania, so I think I'm pretty much an expert at this point.
It was my homage to a game series I do love.
So yeah, I just played Castlevania 1 the other day.
Awesome. It's a tough but fun game.
Great. No, please.
No,
Craig,
it's
tell
all-
us.
no,
tell
it's
us
all
about
good.
it. No,
I already
please,
said
go.
it.
No,
I already said it.
No, tell us.
Craig
about
has a fancy new arcade, an actual old school arcade box. It's amazing. It looks great in his room, and yeah, that's about the extent of it. Let's dive into some actual comics news, like some in print stuff besides the stuff that Jerry brought up earlier with the question. So there was a lot of actual like coming to a stand near you comics news from a couple different publishers that came out this past week. And it's pretty big news. DC is bringing back their Vertigo line. Now, I love the Vertigo stuff. The fact that they haven't been publishing much, if anything at all, the fact that they've been missing from the shelf has actually been a really big hole in my pull box. Definitely geared towards adult and horror. Solidly good books. Some of the stuff, I mean, Sandman, they had some stuff. Hellblazer came out of there.
American Vampire.
Yeah. Lucifer, which is one of my favorite books, came out of there. Anyway,
Swamp Thing didn't come out of there, but had a long run in there.
They're coming back. Thank the old and the new gods, which is a Kirby reference. The imprint is relaunching with 7 new titles, and it's from a really great selection of creators. I looked through the 7 titles. I'm not interested in all of them, as I doubt anybody would be interested in all seven of them, because they range a large gamut of... Oh, Craig is.
I'll probably get all 7.
But as far as what speaks to me, there are 2 that I'm really looking forward to. One of them is called Hex Wives, from Ben Blacker, who I'm a fan of because he did some Deadpool work with another guy named Ben Acker, which you got the team of Acker and Blacker, which was really funny. But he and Mirka Andolfo are coming out with a book called Hex Wives, which kind of I want to say it's a Handmaid's Tale homage, maybe a little bit. I don't know, because obviously we haven't read it yet. We're hoping to get some of those early things in the inbox, but
really like to see those things that really turn the patriarchy on its head.
That's
I just read The Power not too long ago, and oh man, yeah.
And there's another book which seems to be a religious-esque comedy, maybe a sacrilegious-esque comedy, called The Second Coming by a writer that I'm a huge fan of, Mark Russell. And it's drawn by Richard Pace. And I'm really excited about that book. I love Mark Russell. His Flintstone stuff was great. I've been loving his Snagglepuss run.
So you need to finish it.
I do. It's literally the next book on my stack at home to read. So that'll happen this afternoon, and I'll call you. So yeah, man. Like I'm really pumped about Vertigo coming back because some of the best stories come out of there.
Yeah, Mark Russell is one of the hottest new writers in comic books. I'm super excited about this line. All the good stuff, not all the good stuff, I shouldn't say that, but a lot of good stuff comes out of it.
I hope
Yeah.
they're all good. I don't want anything to be bad.
So, getting into the Marvel side of things, you guys know that I'm a really big fan of obscure characters, like just everything that's wild and out there.
Indeed, you do.
I saw this title and my eyes kind of rolled back in my head whenever I saw it, but then I saw the name on it and I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to get this. It's As Guardians of the Galaxy,
Which is amazing.
which is a weird twist, and they've got some really fucking obscure characters. Cullen Bunn's going to be writing it. I'm a huge Cullen Bunn fan. Love Cullen Bunn fan. And Matteo Lawley is going to be the artist on the book. Was it Mateo?
Mateo.
Mateo.
Sorry, I wasn't gonna
Yeah.
be that guy, but then I was.
I got
Sorry,
you.
if you're offended by Jerry mispronouncing your name, feel free to come on this podcast and fight us about it.
So anyway, as Guardians of the Galaxy, I haven't read exactly what the synopsis is. Like I said, the obscure characters really got me interested in the book and the fact that Cullen Bunn's going to be on it. So the team is going to have the Destroyer and Throg. Those were my really excited ones. The Thor, Frog, right?
Yeah, the best Thor.
Yeah. Angela Valkyrie. Then there was a character that I didn't recognize, so I had to look it up. And it's fucking Thunderstrike.
Yeah.
From like the way back in the day. Like, I'm taking in charge of Thor stuff right now. Ponytail and crazy.
Yeah.
Is that Angela?
Yeah.
Nice.
Angela, Valkyrie, Destroyer, Throg, and Thunderstrike are the team on the book. And I mean,
So it's all the
Throg
other
and
Thors.
Destroyer got me
It's-
interested, but Thunderstrike, like,
It's all the other Thors except for Beta Ray Bill.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, but this would be the perfect.
Oh.
This would be the perfect book for him to show
I
up.
changed
would
my
be
mind.
great.
I'm not getting the book anymore.
No, that would be amazing if
Yeah,
Beta Ray
yeah.
showed up in this. And it makes
Yeah.
perfect sense.
Oh,
Well, and I-
yeah, totally.
When I saw this get released, I knew you were a mark for it. With as much as you love Thanos and as much as you love Cosmic Ghost Rider, which is going to be coming out. This book was almost tailor made for you, Jerry.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be wacky, and it also comes out in September, so I guess I'll be picking up alongside of Action Comics 1005.
It's going to get weird.
Yes.
All right, and another publisher we don't talk a whole lot about is Valiant Entertainment, but they're producing some really, really good stuff. It's something that it's outside of my purview. I need to get into it because I mean they've got some really, really great. Jeff Lemire writes for Valiant at times. They're good stuff. They have this whole universe. It's a new superhero thing. I mean, they've been around since the 90s, but they've rebooted a few times. Lots of good stuff. They're not relaunching, but they're kind of, it's one of those things where they've built up to a point and they're shifting and now they're going and they're taking those characters with those storylines and they're going in a different direction. So they announced this week that they're doing 4 new books as part of a series called Beyond, quote unquote Beyond. And it stems out of their last big event called Harbinger Wars 2. And I actually read the first Harbinger Wars because it was a bigger event. I really wanted to see it. The art was amazing. Like those characters, I mean, you've got characters like Bloodshot. What you were talking about him earlier, Sean, the main guy.
Exo Man.
Yeah, Exo Manowar, Ulrich, who is a
Ninjak.
Ninja.
Ninjak or Ninja K.
Wasn't Turok?
Turok, yeah, they produced Turok.
Wait, that was Dynamite.
No, Turok was actually a
Valiant property.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
they moved
All right.
over, but I think
He's
that
not
they're-
any longer.
Yeah.
but-
So he wasn't in the newer stuff. Okay.
But so there's some really good stuff. Some of their best known characters: Bloodshot, Livewire. There's a character called Incursion, or maybe the book is called Incursion. I don't really know what that is. Might be worth a look. But there's also another character that I do like, and I've read a little bit of her stuff just because I wanted to support this idea. But it's a character called Faith. She is a powered, the Harbinger. Yeah, she is a powered individual who got her powers through a series of medical testing or something like that. There was a whole thing.
Oh, I didn't realize that was Valiant. I bought that trade for Vanetta. She loved it.
Yeah, she is a.
It's actually like a latent mutant power or whatever, and they do testing to bring it out.
Right. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really good Bloodshot series where he works with those.
Mhm.
But Faith she is a larger woman. She's a full body, full figured woman. Really powerful, really fun book. I loved that character. I read at least the first arc of it. But yeah, they're coming out with these 4 new books that are going to be ongoing series, and this is a really good stepping on point. Like if you haven't been reading Valiant, I haven't. Then there's no judgment there. I haven't read it. It's just not something that I've been into. I've read some of the 90s stuff, but Archer and Armstrong, really good books. But this is a really good time to go to your local comic book shop or get online to discountcomicbookservice.com or anything else and throw it into your pull box. Check it out because it's the art in these books are always phenomenal. Always.
I've just not read a lot of Valiant, and it's just because I collect so much now that it's just something else that if I know I go down that path, it's going to be 10 more titles that I'm going to have to pick up.
Just going to fall in love with it and spend more money.
So,
we'll wrap this up with a little bit of in-house news that we got going right now. We have made the jump to YouTube.
That's right. We're YouTube famous now.
We are super YouTube famous now. We are up there with PewDiePie and everyone else who's revealed to be an asshole now. But we currently have all of our past episodes up. We will be uploading new episodes as we're done with them. They should be at the same time they're up on your usual channel. So if YouTube is your preferred method of listening to a podcast, or if you have a friend, family, or anyone you know who's like, I prefer YouTube instead of these iTunes and other podcast means, let them know.
That's what I was going to say. So saying this on the show is a little bit like the tail wagging the dog. If you're listening to this, then you're already listening to our podcast. But if you have friends who, like Sean said, don't want to plug in SoundCloud or Spotify, or I don't think we're on Spotify, but Stitcher Radio or iTunes, if they don't want to listen to podcasts that way, if they like to listen to it on their computer, word of mouth helps spread this show, probably more than anything. So please tell your friends and families about us. And if they're like, no, I just don't want to listen to podcasts on my phone, pull it up on YouTube.
Yeah.
And Sean actually gets all the credit for this because he's been asking for it for a while. I personally have been a little bit leery of YouTube because I messed up and read the comments one time, and I know it can be a pretty terrible comment section place. But
we'll just ignore the comments.
Yeah, I'm not going to read it. So.
I got it. I got it well handled. I'm actually a very big YouTuber.
Yeah, Sean is an internet warrior.
I watch a lot of the YouTubes. But yes, commenting also is a big way to get our channel out there for algorithm searches. For someone puts in geek or puts in comic book, we can pop up by just liking, subscribing, and just leaving a comment. And much like our other Southern Fried Fam on our other social media outlets like Instagram and Facebook, if you got something else, like if you're in there, we will like your channel and people can see it on our channel. Like, we're willing to spread the word if you're willing to spread the word, of course. If you have something out there, let us know. Let us know in the comments. We'll check you out. You know, if nothing else, we'll at least give a little shout out. If not, like I said, a share or a like on there. We're here to spread the love of our people, the Geekery, the Southern Fried Fam that's out there. So, like I said, just spread the word, and we appreciate it. None of this would be possible without you guys supporting us, listening, liking, commenting, sharing, letting everyone else know. We appreciate it.
For sure. And again, I just want to say thank you to Sean because you worked really hard on getting that set up, and you overcame my technical inabilities.
My mediocrity finally came into play.
So we're ending the news on social media.
Oh, and is this what I think it is?
It is.
And we need a jingle. Lance Ranch. What's Craig pissed about now?
I'm slowly dying. I'm dying.
So
you love that.
Okay.
I do. I'm not gonna lie.
So I deleted all of my entertainment news and news feeds from my Facebook page because I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, if you hate something, you hate something, and I don't have to be privy to your hate. So I've deleted that, and for the most part, I've been a much happier guy. I still follow a lot of creators, and I'm still connected to the entertainment, especially geek entertainment culture, but I'm not going to follow those pages anymore. So even being disconnected, some news came out, and I actually have two things to talk about this week.
Let it flow. Let the hate flow through.
The first one is an entertainment thing, and the other one's a much more personal thing. So Kelly Marie Tran, who played Rose in The Last Jedi, was she chose on her own to delete all of her Instagram. She still has her account, but she's deleted every post she's ever made on it. And she did this because people are bigoted racists that don't like her for no other reason than they didn't like a movie, and she was an Asian woman in it.
Yep. I heard about this.
And, you know, people, you just got to be bigger than that. If you don't like something, go away. There's a lot of things I don't like, but I don't blame an actor for a movie I don't like. I certainly don't blame the human being that played that character for a story I don't like. Just go away. Leave people alone. Quit. And this is on the heels of them. Daisy Ridley had to quit all of her social media accounts. And my understanding is she's actually had to take some therapy over the way she's been treated on social media. Anybody that's ever met an actor in real life, whether it's a stage actor, me personally, I did some stage acting in high school. They're pretty much have very fragile egos. That you think of them as these big, larger than life people. Most actors are not. They are in what they play, but their egos and their self-esteem, I guess is the better word, is not as big as you would think it would be. And sometimes any of these little comments plays into their self-worth, and just be better people. I'm going to leave it at that. I've ranted enough about the way they treat people from the start, the way these people are acting about Star Wars. I'm over all of it. Do what you want to do, but just don't be a piece of shit human being.
Right.
So that leads into my next thing. We used to do shout outs on the show, and I once did a shout out for my friend and tattoo artist, Eric Rebright. And I've known Eric for 10 years now. Him and his husband, both fantastic people. Eric had just got back from a vacation with his husband. He went to a bar to go hang out with his best friend for a little while. Didn't get drunk. I don't care what the rumors are saying on the internet. He didn't get drunk. He had a couple of beers. He left there. His friend was walking him out to the car.
I don't want to pull any punches. This is a hate crime.
It's absolutely a hate crime.
Absolutely.
Your friend and was the victim of a hate crime.
Yes. Because we live in Arkansas, the hate crime laws are not very stringent here.
No.
Luckily, there's some federal hate crime laws that we're hoping the guy can get charged with. The two guys can get charged with. Had Eric's friend not been there, I don't know what would have happened to Eric. So thank God that Patrick was there with him. It was really hard. Eric knew me well enough to not tell me the guy's name because it was really hard to not get in my car. My wife sat in the bed crying while I was sitting there shaking.
Yeah.
It was very traumatic for Eric and the things he's been telling me since then. I'm glad he's actually doing better. He's getting out of the house again. I know he has an appointment with lawyers and things coming up. So there's a GoFundMe site for him. If you feel in your heart that you want to support him, you can find it on their page, Odyssey Tattoo. You can find it on my Facebook page.
Well, and we'll share it to the Southern Fried page, all of them.
And in addition to that, if you live in Northwest Arkansas, if you're within range of Northwest Arkansas, on the 18th of this month, they're going to do a flash sale. All the proceeds are going to go to supporting Eric. So,
very cool.
If you're so inclined to help out. This is what happens when we embolden haters, and that's what we've done in this country for the past few years. We've made people feel like it's okay to be these pieces of shit, and it's time that we start not allowing people to be pieces of shit. So,
well, as the resident gay man, we're in the middle of Pride Month right now. One of the dangers about being visible means you're also a target. One of the things about being open and outspoken and visible in your community means that these people can also single you out. This is the reason my husband doesn't hold my hand in public. And I hope some of our listeners think about that. You think about what you can do with your better half or your spouse in public, and no one blinks an eye. Holding my husband's hand in public can make him a target. Can make me a target. Now, I'm not a small dude. I can handle myself, and I largely don't mind doing that, but it scares the shit out of me to know that something could happen to my better half. And
well, as our friend Castro said, it doesn't matter how well you can handle yourself if you don't see a sucker punch coming.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
and, like you said, Arkansas and many other states do not recognize the LGBT community as a protected class, so we don't fall under, and these things don't, at the state level, a lot of times fall under hate crime laws. There's not a lot of times ways to get restitution for this. It does cause physical damage. It does cause emotional. Yeah, the emotional weight of just knowing that somebody hates you for the simple act of who they think you are. Not even necessarily, they don't know anything about you. They don't know. This dude didn't know anything about Eric. They just hated him for what they thought they knew about him and what they think. It's insane. It's sad. It boils my blood. From all of us, I'm sure, but at least for me, wishing Eric a full and speedy recovery, both physically and mentally.
Yeah.
Get better,
buddy.
I don't know
if you need anything.
Yeah, I don't know if he listens to the podcast
He does.
or not, but hey, from one brother to another, sending lots of love up there to you. I'll try to get up there to go to that flash sale. Get better, man. Get well, and if you need some support, you've got some from folks that you've never really met, and I hope that helps.
Yeah.
So
yeah, just wanted to point that out that, it's really not necessarily a Lance Rants. It's just me wanting to bring attention to something. So moving on, let's go on to some fun stuff.
yeah,
Let's talk. We've had a couple of,
there's been some heavy stuff, man.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, that's life. That's reality.
Yeah.
And so I know we want to move on. Let's throw out thing as a artist myself. I saw that one of the injuries he sustained in his attack was to his wrist and hand.
Yeah.
And that art is his fucking way of making money in this world.
Yeah, that's how you survive.
So
I almost feel like the people had to have known him from his place of employment. He owns the shop.
So, like I said, of course, we always speedy recovery, but I really hope that doesn't affect him.
Yeah.
I hope he heals 100% up and shows these fuckers what's up by living his life happily for the rest of it.
And he's just a good soul. He's always laughing and jokes, and he's just a good guy. And the fact that somebody can do this to somebody like Eric just really, it shook me to my core.
Absolutely.
And I'm not one to advocate for violence, but karma's a motherfucker and a half. All right, so
Yes.
next week is Father's Day. We're recording this in 7 days. Next Sunday, it's going to be Father's Day. Craig, as the resident dad of the group, happy Father's Day. You're a amazing dad and amazing friend. But we were thinking about this and kind of wanted to model after what we did for Mother's Day. And there's lots of dads in comics. There really are.
Are there really?
Some.
Because a lot
there
of superheroes have to be
dads in
orphans.
comics?
But a lot of them have because isn't being an orphan prerequisite to being a superhero?
Well, some, but I mean, the flip side of that is there's lots of father figures
But
who
there
aren't
are.
biological dads. But yeah, man,
Absolutely.
there's lots of dads, and I don't want to say any right now because there might be ones you talk about.
Yeah.
But we thought it'd be kind of cool to get together and just briefly mention some of our favorite fathers or father figures in comics. I'll start it off, I think, and we can kind of go around the table because we didn't really draw straws on this one to see who goes first, even though we did all the other ones. I love pulp characters. I love characters that were invented somewhere around the turn of the century, those old school stuff like Conan. I'm a big fan of that guy. A lot of the Burroughs characters. Well, you don't get more Burroughs than Tarzan. And a lot of people don't know that Tarzan is a dad.
Yeah.
I
And
did not know that.
yeah, Tarzan and Jane got married. They moved back, and he became Lord Greystroke, and he had a family. Well, his son is a guy known as Korak the Killer.
Oh.
So his son is an equally pulp-esque character. He's kind of a lot like Tarzan in the way that Tarzan raised him up in the jungle. He had no idea that his dad was Tarzan for so long. So once he kind of figured it out, he kind of went wild. But how he found out is that he was kidnapped. Like one of Tarzan's old enemies kidnapped him, took him.
Was that like a gorilla that came?
Well,
one of his old enemies came and got him.
Yeah, so they kidnapped him, they brought him back, and took him to Africa to kill him, and they were going to send the body back the logistics of that are kind of dumb, so this is not the brightest individual anyway. You could have saved postage, sir.
It's pulp characters.
It
It was a
is.
different time.
So, Tarzan, obviously, Liam Neeson'd it and got him back and raised him, and there are so many good adventures where you get to see the relationship between Tarzan and his son, Korak. There are these really great moments where he passes down both the things that he learned as Lord of the Jungle and the things that Tarzan learned as being Lord Greystroke when he had to come back and take up his mantle as being somewhat royalty, this figure, where he teaches him all of these life lessons. There's some beautiful moments in that. Korak, of course, grows up and marries a beautiful, voluptuous woman who is also equally pretty badass in her own right. There's some great moments between, I forget his wife's name, but there's some great moments between her and Jane, Lady Jane. If you want to read a more recent one, you should go check out Bill Willingham's comic, The Greatest Adventure, which took all of these Burroughs characters and shoved them into one universe. You know, you get that moment, spoilers, but you get the moment where Tarzan actually meets John Carter of Mars, which was really cool. On this trip, on this great adventure, Korak is with him. He's with Tarzan. And so you get these great father-son road adventure battle, just being pulpy and badass moments. So Tarzan's one of my favorite dads in literature and in comics. So, like I said, Sean, you didn't know he was a dad. I figure there's lots of people that don't, because those old books, unfortunately, I don't think are widely read anymore. Everybody knows them. Nobody reads them.
Right.
So go check out those books. Go check out the comics. You can look at, there's a lot of stuff that's been produced by, I think, Dark Horse or IDW, some non-big three books that you can find online, find at your local shop. Great stuff. I'm pumped. Like, I really like these characters.
So the character that I picked, totally picked this like forever ago, not just like 5 minutes ago or anything.
No way.
But I don't know if you guys, I know Craig is for sure familiar with the comic book Black Science.
Yeah,
I've heard you talk
it's-
about it a lot.
It's being done by Rick Remender, and it's been phenomenal. I'm not caught up at the moment, but basically the main character in it is Grant McKay, and he is a father. He's a fuck up. I'm not gonna lie. He starts off kind of trash because for the longest time he's been trying to invest in this tower object that helps people teleport into other dimensions, right? So he was completely involved in that work, not really giving any of his kids or family in general attention. The whole series starts off with somebody sabotaging the machine when they're all about to make their first trip. His family's with him, and it just starts this whole circle of events of them getting lost in different dimensions, and eventually they get split up, at which point Grant McKay just goes above and beyond to go after his kids and protect his family and save them and all that. And he even gets to one point where the only way he can bring his daughter back and defeat this evil that's in his place is there's this witch, and she asks for the most important thing to him. So she takes his basically his mind, like his genius, his intelligence, which is the most important thing to him. And I mean, that's always been kind of an interesting thing with because there's not a whole lot of dads in comics, as Sean mentioned. It's a lot of superheroes are orphans, but it's kind of interesting to see his backstory and how he's gone from this kind of deadbeat. Like his parents weren't great by any means. His mom cheated on his dad until she left him, and then his dad killed himself. So he did not have like good role models to go off of. So he just kind of lived this depressing life and raised his family and involved himself in his work until all this stuff happened and made him really step up and realize that he had been fucking up this whole time, and really kind of step to the plate and become the father that he should have been this whole time.
So yeah, I'm caught up in the series, and the really cool thing is that sometimes when somebody takes what you love the most from you, it creates you having to reevaluate what was really important to you anyways. And so that is exactly the case in this book. He is now on a quest. He's reunited with one of his ex-wives because it's a multiverse, so there's millions of copies of his ex-wife out there. So
that's a special hell.
Yeah. So he's reunited with his ex-wife, and they are searching actively for the children that are lost in the multiverse right now.
And there's also been like a multiverse version of himself that the same events happened, but he lost his children. So at one
you
point,
get caught up without me destroying any more.
At one point, they had this conflict with this other universe, Grant McKay, who is taking this universe's Grant McKay, like his children, because he lost his children.
It gets worse.
Yeah. Oh boy. I can't.
And by worse, I mean better story.
Yeah.
So
it's been a phenomenal series, and yeah.
So I actually had 3 names on my list, but I'm going to pull one of them out, and then if Sean doesn't talk about the other 2, I'll just give him an honorable mention.
I guarantee mine's not on your list.
I've got one or two myself, but
Okay. Well, the one I'm going to talk about that is the main one for me is this non-biological father, but it's Trevor Brunholm from Hellboy.
Yeah.
Oh, good
deep
pick.
cut.
Yeah.
Good pick.
You know, he saved Hellboy as a child, raised him as a child, was his father.
Yeah.
You know,
Taught him how to become a man.
yeah. So
you a man.
sometimes it's not, you know, the blood parent isn't necessarily the father figure in your life.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, that's who I pick. If you haven't read Hellboy,
Phenomenal.
yes, and they're doing a lot of them right now where they're going back because Hellboy is no longer a part of the
BPRD.
BPRD. So they're doing a lot of them now where they go back in time and tell some of the stories when Hellboy was basically not much more than a teenager and learning how to go out and fight stuff. And those are really interesting because you're seeing him make the mistakes a teenager would make while he's trying to solve these paranormal investigations. Because anybody that knows that whole universe, it's all went to hell at this point. I mean, literally hell has come up from, you know, it's a world that H.P. Lovecraft would have imagined at this point. So,
Yeah, the Mignola verse is weird.
it's way fucked up
It's
right
amazing.
now. It's amazing, that whole universe. Sometimes there's characters you don't know that tie into it, but they do. Lobster Johnson, those sorts of characters. So it's very, like I said, H.P. Lovecraftian, which you don't really get that at first, but it really goes that way really quick. So,
And great portrayal in the film, in the first Hellboy movie
yeah.
of that
absolutely.
character. Wonderful, wonderful portrayal.
I'm super excited about the remake. At first, I was like, yeah, you know, it's got to be Ron Perlman. Then I saw Dude in Makeup, and I'm like, yeah,
I ain't mad about it.
Yeah, I'm not mad about it. Yeah,
Absolutely.
So, Sean, who do you got?
Well, for my Father's Day, I actually packed a small bento to sneak in a little bit of manga ramen in this episode after all.
You sneaky bastard.
It's a character from anime I would love to spend some time on, maybe if Jerry can't ever make an episode, because I don't know if he's ever watched a series called Ranma Half.
A little bit.
It's Genma Saotome. He's the father of the main character, Ranma, from the title. Without getting into too much detail, there's a lot to talk about in this series. A big part of the series is that people get cursed in these springs. It's all about martial arts, and they go to this famous training ground where they have these springs where people and animals have died. If you fall in the spring, whenever you get hit with cold water, you turn into whoever died in that spring. That's kind of the setup for the whole series. Genma specifically fell into one where a panda had drowned. So whenever he gets
Because
turned,
it's manga.
because of Japan.
That is the saddest fucking thing I've ever heard.
Yes, but see, what you have to know about Genma is he's a father, a little bit of a piece of shit, because he runs the Saotome School of Anything Goes Martial Arts. That is the full name, and he wants his son to be the heir, wants to take over, so he trains him hard, like ever since he was a little child, taking him to China where these cursed springs are, which end up turning Ramen into a girl. That's a whole. Like I said, we'll get into that story eventually. But what I like about him is he's selfish. He's all about himself. He's all about his school and his heritage, but he still watches out for his son. Like I said, and just driven by goals, driven by what he wants. So much so that he gave his own son 3 different fiancées from 3 different times. But he's always wanting to get Rama to be in the head of his school. So but he can't help but fuck up and be, they're always broke. He's always hungry. One of Rama's fiancées came from an okonomiyaki cart where Genma was like, look, my son's going to be the head of a martial arts school. Let him marry your daughter. And while the father was happy, he ran off with the cart. That's because he wanted the food.
What a bastard.
He dodges responsibility by purposely changing to his panda form where he can't talk and plays with a ball or a tire whenever people are getting mad at him. But there's also the parts about him that, like I said, he comes to the aid of his son when he's fighting strong opponents and teaches him new techniques. And they just have a lot of it's that father stuff. Like Rama's quick to kick him literally in the head when he's mouthing off, and they have that kind of relationship where they're sparring partners his entire life, and it's all just been there to get Rama to where he needs to be the head of the school. And one of my favorite moments was towards the end of the story, where Rama's wanting to learn new techniques to take on this new big challenge. And his father is just like, no, unless you can finally beat me in a fight, you're not going to take on this dude. So they were getting ready for a duel, training themselves on opposite sides of a mountain, getting ready for the fight. And then one night, Genma happened to come around to check on Rama when he was asleep. He saw Rama fell asleep without a blanket in the freezing cold in this mountain. He walks over and covers him up with a blanket.
No.
Which Rama wakes up and sees that. and then he notices that Gemma stole all his food. It's a hilarious action comedy series, and he's just one of my favorite dads, just because he's a real person. He's flawed. But in the end, he wants to raise Rama to be a strong martial artist.
Yeah, very cool, man. That's awesome. So again, we want to wish all of you if you don't listen to the next episode before we come back to you, have a happy Father's Day, dads. Craig, have a happy Father's Day, which I think we'll probably see each other before then. But call your daddies, tell them you love them. There's nothing wrong with telling your daddy you love them, and it doesn't matter if they're your real dad. I've got a couple people I call dad. So, all right.
Yeah, a couple people you call it daddy too.
Oh my!
Really, actually, like true story, I had to go through and change some names on my phone.
Oh no,
Daddy one. I'm kidding.
Jesus Christ! It's okay. Roger doesn't listen.
Roger don't listen.
He calls me daddy. Anyway, so some great books came out this week, guys. Let's talk about some comics.
Yeah,
let's get smothered covered in comic. Craig, how about you kick us off, brother?
Yeah, so the book I'm going to talk about actually came out last week. It's called The Last Siege. It's an image book written by Landry Walker, art by Justin Greenwood, and colored by Eric Jones. This book takes place in medieval times. I'm assuming Europe. They don't really give names, but starts with some really great art, like 3 pages of a man pulling a cart towards the city. You can see the walls built up. He gets into town, and it cuts and switches to the interior of the castle. It's talking about how the king just died and how his daughter's the only heir, and since she's female, obviously can't take the throne, and she's going to have to marry knight so-and-so, and if she doesn't marry him, of course, then it's going to be chaos in this kingdom because you're going to have warring factions, but no one likes this knight. So, they're like, well, the worst thing is she'll probably live for a couple years and then die, and we'll have an heir, hopefully, by then. They're literally hoping that she can marry him and live long enough to have a baby.
Just biding their time.
Yes. Because, if that happens and she dies, then the other guy doesn't get to be king because there's an heir in the direct line.
Yeah.
So, and, stupid political
hierarchy. The hierarchy rule kicks in.
From medieval times. So, the really cool thing is the guy goes into the bar, just wants to have a drink. Somebody starts a fight with him. During the fight, it's revealed that he's more than just a Tupperware salesman that you think he is hauling. Obviously a dude's pulling a cart. You think he's a Tupperware salesman, right?
Clearly.
Yeah. But he's
medieval Tupperware.
He's obviously not a Tupperware salesman. He handles himself very well in the battle. And I'm not going to tell you who he is because I want you to read the book. But it was just a really good, fun, a lot of action, sword fights and fist fights, and a lot of stuff going on for a first issue with a big reveal at the end, which you don't normally see
in the first issue.
First issue of an arc. So I just had it was one of the books that I've had the most fun with in a while for a start of a new series. So yeah, check with your local comic book store and see if you can get it.
I haven't read the series. Who did the art, and how's the art on that book?
The art's actually really good. It's Justin Greenwood. It's really, really good. Like I said, those first couple of pages were, to me, that's when you can tell how good an artist is. If you have 3 or 4 pages without any dialogue.
Yeah.
And you're still interested in what's going on, and you're not just flipping till you start getting to the dialogue.
Right.
To me, that's always a good indication that the art is solid, and that's what it is. And it's very fitting for the style's very fitting for the story they're telling. So, like I said, it was a rad book. It was a lot of fun. Again, if you like things like Game of Thrones or those sorts of medieval or fantasy political type things. It's that, but this one actually has a lot more action in it. I know I picked Sleepless a few weeks back based off of that same thing. Sleepless doesn't have nearly as much action. This had, like I said, fights and swords and, all kinds of cool stuff going on right in the first issue. So it's going to be while it's going to have that political intrigue, it's also going to have the action.
Now, do you feel like this is going to be a fantasy series, or do you think this is going to be kind of a real world, almost like a Brothers Dracul thing, where I know there's vampires in there, but outside of that, it just kind of shows like everyday medieval life?
Well, they haven't given any indication for any sort of magic or anything like that in this world, but it's only 1 issue in. So, it's hard to tell at this point. At this point, it seems to be grounded in maybe not like with real world characters that like real nonfiction characters, but in a real world.
Yeah, we're not
medieval
going to see
times.
dragons and orcs and stuff
So
pop up
far
that we know of.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, but it may very well turn into that. Right now, it appears that the big thing going on is a civil war
Okay.
in this, and that's how the king died. So, like I said, just a lot of fun.
When you were first talking about it, Pestilence came to mind.
It's similar. Apparently, I'm into these medieval books because I'm reading quite a few of them right now.
Yeah, medieval books and just alien invasions are your bread and butter.
So, again, like I said, a lot of times the first issue is a setup book, and it doesn't give you a lot of depth into the world.
Mm-hmm.
This gave a lot of depth into this world without kind of being rushed. It just kind of let it happen.
Right.
And like I said, it was usually you don't get drawn in that quickly into a comic. It's like, okay, well, this one's pretty good. I'll give it the second issue, give it the third issue, and see how it goes. Immediately, I want the second book to come out. So
Okay.
Nice.
Well, I'm going to have to go check that out because I have not read that yet. But I'm also going to go next since I've got the mic. The book I read for this week, I read a bunch of books for this week, but the one I really, really want to talk about is,
of course,
I fell in love with it. It's The Immortal Hulk #1, and it was the first of a couple. We had a couple of #1s come out from Marvel this week.
I'm talking about one of them.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited about the one you're talking about too. But the book I want to talk about is The Immortal Hulk. It's written by Al Ewing. It is drawn by Joe Bennett and inked by a man I'm not really familiar with, an inker, Rui Jose. Just to kind of give you the short and dirty of the story, there's this guy named Tommy, and he's fell on hard times. He's got a lady and a kid, and he's got real grown-up adult responsibilities. He can't make ends meet. He's in a financial crisis, can't pay the bills. They're going to get evicted. He's desperate. He has no good legal recourse to provide for his family. Nothing's working, which is true of a lot of people in a lot of situations in the real world. Like, this is a very understandable thing. So Tommy borrows money from a biker gang, and it's actually the Dogs of Hell, which if you have watched Daredevil, it's those guys. Those guys, they're like the main biker gang in all of Marvel. It's a good homage to old school continuity. But like all things, he has to pay them back, and he can't pay them back either. So he meets his first month's bills, got to pay the biker gang back, and still has no way to pay the next month. Because these are real dangerous people. They're the kind that hurt your family if you don't show up with their money. He's a desperate man in a desperate situation, and as desperate people are wont to do, he acts desperately. I mean, there's a whole lot of desperation.
If you're following, kids, the word of the day is desperate. Desperation.
Brought to you by...
the letter D and the number 5.
Well, that's such a phrase. I use that phrase a lot. Desperate people in desperate situations act desperately. And I use that when I work with the van, when people start complaining about unsheltered people. Anyway.
You're dangerously close to reciting the alphabet aerobics.
I digress. In order to be able to get the funds that he needs to pay off this biker gang who's going to hurt his family, Tommy's big bright idea is to grab a revolver and go rob a gas station, like you do. Of course, that's
Clearly,
because the 7-Eleven, the
That's my
7-Eleven keeps enough cash to keep you solvent. It's not the best idea as you might think. Well, Tommy's not a gangster. Tommy's not a killer. This is not something he would normally do. He doesn't know. He's nervous. He's scared. As he's in the middle of committing this robbery, a young girl drops a bottle of some type of soda and scares him, and he shoots her. He goes on to shoot 2 more people and murder 2 more people in this robbery. Now, I know a lot of people are like, okay, but I thought you said this was a Hulk book. This sounds like something else. Well, Tommy murders these 3 people in cold blood, but not all of them stay dead. Turns out one of the victims just happens to be Bruce Banner. He's the Hulk. And he is immortal, and he's angry. He can smell fear, and so he follows this fear, and he tracks Tommy down at the biker clubhouse, and then you can go read the book to find out what happens next.
We can imagine.
The Hulk smashes, just to put it bluntly. I loved this book. Loved it. I know a few people who didn't.
Those people are wrong.
I think this book is phenomenal. It speaks to the duality of the characters from the book's original inception. From the original version of the Hulk, when he was the monster, he was a character that was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde blended with Frankenstein. He was a fearsome beast. And this speaks to that a lot. There have been many, many versions of the Hulk since Lee and Kirby created them way back in 1962. One of the reasons I like this book so much is that Al Ewing he's writing the most fearsome version of this character. Yes, the Hulk is an atomic bomb waiting to go off. He is a monster. This version of the Hulk is not the lumbering beast. He is sentient. He is intelligent. But he also is disconnected from Bruce Banner's morality. This version of the Hulk has his own ethical code, quote unquote, and it's, like you might imagine, it's unpredictable. We really don't know what we're going to get. There's just so much of this character that is blended from some of the great writers of the Hulk, like Doug Minch, Steve Gerber, even Peter David. So if I were to explain why I like this character so much, this version of the Hulk, imagine, if you will, an elephant, real life world. An elephant can pick up a car, a small SUV, and throw it. An elephant can plow through buildings. It can also reach up and pluck a single leaf from a tree. It is capable of the most strength and the most brutality and the most little things, the most gentle movements. That's the Hulk. That's the character I love because it runs the gamut of possibilities. And that's what you get here. This is a rage monster. There's this moment where he's grinning, and it's just like a Cheshire cat grin. It's just this moment where he's like, oh God, like, and he's pissed off because a 12-year-old girl has been murdered. Part of the great continuity of the character of the Hulk and Bruce Banner is, for most of my favorite stories, anything from Return of the Monster to the Peter David runs, it's Bruce on the run, finding himself in the wrong place at the right time, and dealing with not so large moments. Those are some of my favorite Banner stories. The art in this book it's a throwback to the old black and white monster stories, stuff like the Rampaging Hulk and stuff. He's not pretty. He's not a sleek individual, just like a drawn from bodybuilders and stuff like that. He's very Cro-Magnon. He's got very Neanderthal features.
Yeah, it's not Amadeus Cho.
Yeah. And yes, I realize that Cro-Magnons and Neanderthals are two different things. I'm just trying to paint a picture in your mind's eye. Joe Bennett and Rui Jose are great at drawing the monster like this. He's not copying, but you get a little bit of a taste of the stuff like Buscema and Herb Trimpe did. One of the things I really got out of this, it looks a lot like the Bob McLeod inks. Rui Jose, I don't know if he went back and looked at those old art pictures. You get a lot of these Bob McLeod things, the heavy brow, just the...
Bob McLeod?
McLeod, yeah.
You can come on the show and kick our ass if you want to for mispronouncing your name.
You know,
I mispronounced it. You just completely said a different
I was
name.
given the benefit of the doubt that it was somebody else. Thank you, Craig.
What's actually sad is I've actually met him and I have a piece of art by him. Okay, so Bob McLeod, he inks a lot like him. His backgrounds and the peripheral stuff, the landscapes, are a little bit more polished than all those books. But just gorgeous. Just page after page. You can really see the emotion in people's faces. And that's one thing that you really get when you go back and look at those old Rampaging Hulk stuff from the 70s and 80s. Even the stuff before from the first 5 when it was Lee, or not Lee, when it was Jack Kirby drawing them. Just get it. They really did study those. They absolutely did. And that's what they're trying to do with this. It's a horror story. They're trying to relaunch the spirit of this being not a hero, not even an anti-hero, but just a pure happenstance, an act of nature.
Yeah, I read this book too, and I absolutely loved it for all the things you say. When you say horror, it reminds me a little bit of like a Pumpkinhead type monster.
Yeah.
In that he is...
Good pull.
It was. He's
Pumpkinhead.
actively sought this person out, whereas Bruce Banner would have been happy just, okay, I'm alive still, I'm going to go off and hide. The Hulk is the monster.
Yeah.
Sought this guy out because of the wrongdoing he saw, which is, kind of the vindictive nature of Pumpkinhead. So to me, it's very much got that old kind of, even swamp thing kind of vibe, where it's kind of doing the right thing, but not necessarily for the right reasons,
Or in the right way.
the right way. Yeah, I loved it, man. I got nothing to say. You did a fantastic
wonderful
job.
And just before I wrap up, no book, because I want to be honest. Yes, this is probably my favorite version of the Hulk. I love the duality and the actual very set personalities, but no book is without its problems. Even the best book, there are things to say. Did we really need to see Banner getting shot in the head again? That like I love this book, but we just had that happen. We just finished with Banner getting shot in the head.
So I think they did.
Do you think
And
so?
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
The reason why is because Bruce Banner can die. The Hulk cannot. So Bruce Banner, it was to show us that the immortal part of the Hulk. That even though Bruce Banner took a bullet to the head and was dead, I mean, they had him at the morgue.
Yeah.
And then he still turned into the Hulk. I think it was maybe not in the head, maybe that.
I can understand seeing people needing a way to think Bruce Banner, and that works with how the setup is. It's so close to us just having had that.
Yeah.
That to me, I was like, yeah.
I think it was to show that it wasn't any accident. It wasn't some sort of magic or whatever that brought him back. The Hulk was always going to come back.
Yeah, he's not going to let Bruce die.
Yeah.
There were two other things, and one of them had to do with the art, and it's not the quality of the art. There were back-to-back spreads in this. Joe Bennett, you have one page, it's a full spread that goes into a double-page spread. I don't like that when it happens in any book, because those moments, each one should be a culmination moment. Like you get that big moment that deserves a page spread or a double-page spread. Hey, Wendy. So you get that, and I think that they deserve their own space. So I really wish he had have waited and spaced them out more.
I'm going to disagree with you again.
You think it worked? Okay.
I absolutely love those back-to-back pages.
That's
but
fair.
I get exactly what you're saying, because yes, they are typically used as
it's a climax,
a culmination or a climax, or hey, we're going to shock you with something. But to me, those were two. I want the artwork for both of those.
No,
pages.
I'm not speaking towards
and
the
I
quality
felt
of it.
like it worked.
Yeah.
I did, but I get what you're saying as well.
I would love to have the art because they are gorgeous, but to me, those are always the money shot.
Yeah.
You just want that thrown in there. And I wish they had
No
been
one saw
spaced
your
out.
hand movement when you said
No, that was just for y'all. That was just for y'all.
I did it. I'm forever haunted by it now.
The last thing is I call it the bullet problem, and I would not have picked. I want to be very clear because we have some cross listeners. This was pointed out to me by Vince, David, and Jason from 11 O'Clock Comics. It's not something that I even noticed when I first read it. This character Tommy robs this gas station and murders these people with a revolver. With revolvers, they don't shoot out shell casings. And one of the detectives is saying, no, it's not what you're thinking, Sean. So hang on.
I'm jumping the gun. I was about to get there.
When they're looking at the evidence, one of the detectives is saying, "Hey, we found shell casings there. Revolvers don't spit out shell. They don't spit shell casings.
I missed that.
That wouldn't have been in there." And those guys are completely right. This speaks to a larger problem in comics of individuals that either don't know how bullets work or aren't around guns, because as what Sean was groaning about in a lot of comics we look at and you see.
No, actually, I was following along. That's exactly what I was shaking my head about.
Oh, was it?
That revolvers don't eject cartridges.
Oh, yeah.
No, I was following.
Okay,
I know what you're getting at.
I'm sorry, yeah. So I thought what I thought you were talking
yeah.
about was this. A lot of times when you see bullets drawn, it looks like a bullet that you pull out of the case. For people who don't know, because we live in America and we're permeated with guns, and so we kind of know how this works, unfortunately. The bullet is the tip of it's a little round pointy thing. It's not the entire like big long thing with the primer at the end and everything.
It's just a lead ball at the
Yeah, the only thing that is the projectile is the very tip, the point that shoots out. You see it in a lot of cases.
That's what she said.
Comic artists draw bullets as being the entire shell and everything. That's not bullets. There's a problem in comics with that. But again, I assume it was a miscommunication between Bennett and Ewing and what type of gun was meant to be used and what was going to be happening with the plot. So I just want to point out that I'm not oblivious to these things because, me and Vince were joking around on the 11 O'Clock Comics page about how I loved it and Jason didn't like it. And there was some banter there, all friendly, of course. But I just wanted to throw out there that, yes, I acknowledge that there are flaws in this. But at the end of it, you get this moment, you get the Hulk, or you get Banner looking at himself in the mirror, and he's afraid of what's inside him. And that, to me, speaks to the spirit of the Hulk. I cannot wait to read issue 2.
Yeah, me either. I mean, you nailed it. Exactly how I felt about that book.
Right. But now getting to a book that has absolutely no flaws. I'm kidding. That's impossible. But a damn good book and a damn good series I've been ranting about since I jumped on it. This week was definitely Batman number 48.
Oh, yeah. That was a good
Raving, not
Ranting,
Yeah.
raving. You know what? I use whatever R word I want, Jerry.
Okay, sorry.
I live my life.
I
Love you, Jerry.
Were they desperate?
They were.
Yeah, don't forget that's the word of the day.
But it's the start of a new story arc called The Best Man. Of course, brought to you by the usual team of King, Janan, and Chung. This book, I'm not going to get too much detail because it's a dialogue-driven book, and I'm not going to read you the panel by panel to read you the whole book. But the opening is a...
Don't look at me, Craig.
It wasn't intentional, but now you're making it seem like it was.
I'm trying not to cough, honestly.
All right, rewind. Yeah, that just happened. The book, I will tell you about the opening. The opening is so good. I don't want you just got to go out and read this start. It opens up with an entire, at least 9 or 12 panels of a man praying in a church. Setting up. You could tell it's a prayer of desperation, and yeah, I did do it. That wasn't even intentional.
Yes.
Desperately desperating with the desperations.
Thank you, Sean.
Ending with the final panel of a giant revolver that does not eject casings pointing to the back of his head.
Yeah.
And a bang. And you turn the page, and it's the Joker singing the 1960s Batman theme song.
Nice.
And from there, like I said, that's all I'm going to tell you. From there, it is an amazing interaction between Batman and Joker. I know at least a couple of y'all have read this book.
I read it.
I don't have to tell you. If anyone's reading the book, you don't have to be told about King's writing. And if you've listened to this podcast enough, you don't have to take it from us about King's writing. It was a quality book. It's the start of a new arc. And it's just an amazing, this dialogue-driven issue between Batman and the Joker.
Well, there's a reason why Joker books are the most popular Batman books when they're written right.
Yeah.
And this is an exact
This is written
reason.
right.
Yeah. It's the Joker at his absolute worst / best. It was great. As you said, it was dialogue driven.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking like
Not a lot actually happened in the book. It was a brief glimpse into this moment where chaos ensued.
yeah, absolutely. And like as far as like the way Joker, and then we've seen him before with King, especially the arc of the War of Jokes and Riddles. But this one was just a spotlight on the Joker himself, and he was taking aspects. I think that was I'm questioning myself. So I'm going to make sure. Was it Morrison that wrote the Killing Joke?
No.
It was Alan Moore.
Alan Moore.
Yeah.
Morse,
And Brian Boland did the art of that.
But he was definitely channeling some more with the way Joker was talking about himself.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to get into detail, but if you know the Killing Joke and some of the better parts about that are the Joker talking about himself, I felt like he was channeling some of that, and it was just beautifully written.
Well, it was the Joker at his narcissistic worst, where he wants Batman to just look at him and pay attention to him.
Yeah.
You've got all this other stuff going on in your life, but hey, I'm still here. I'm still the Joker. I'm still your nightmare.
Oh,
and that's what it was.
Why are you putting other people above me?
Yes.
Like, why are you? Yeah.
Yeah. Why ain't I your best man, basically?
Well, and
I mean,
that's the title of the book. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the best opening 3 pages of a book I've read in a long time.
Yeah.
And it's an old trope. Like you said, the praying while murder is happening.
Yeah.
It's an old trope, but King writes it in a new way. And not necessarily a new way, but he writes it at least in a nuanced way.
And it doesn't usually actually happen in a church. Sorry, I didn't mean to catch you.
No problem. But I mean, like I said, it's a hard opening to get your attention. But and he did, like I said, I don't have the book in front of me, so I don't remember the exact panel count. But within the 9 to 12 panels he used for that first page,
12 panel pages.
It's just fucking tension.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right about, even though you don't know why he's praying, but like the prayer he used, specifically the words, I don't know if it was a Catholic prayer or what.
It was Islamic.
Islamic. Well, there you go.
It was Islamic.
I couldn't remember exact details.
If I'm not
the wording.
mistaken, somebody can correct me on that.
Right. But you could tell just from that alone, you could tell the desperation, that the person was scared and something bad was going down.
Yeah.
And then you get the reveal.
Yeah,
it's just amazing storytelling.
You didn't know the guy, and you felt for him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's King's writing. Is top.
Oh, and I want to give some credit out to June Chung on those colors too, because it was very, very dark colors, very matte, but very well done.
Yeah.
Very well done.
Yeah.
Excellent book. Go out and get it. Read this. It's the start of a new arc in Batman. If you haven't been following along, you know who the Joker is. If you're listening to a comic book podcast, odds are you know the Joker. If you haven't read before, which you should go read the other issues, you got a start of a new jumping on point.
Yeah, it's good. It's a solid book, as all-time King's books are.
DC seems to be doing really good with their jumping on points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they got me on 2 books this week that I not even reading or I haven't been reading. Yeah.
So I before we move on, quick question. Can you guys read the Joker without hearing Mark Hamill's voice? Because I can't.
It's probably a better way to enjoy it, but honestly, I don't hear voices in my head.
Really? Okay.
When I'm reading. Every other time, they're loud as shit, but they're quiet when I'm reading.
I actually do hear voices when I read. But
Yeah.
I don't have like a particular actor's voice, which is weird that it's not Mark Hamill for me. It's just kind of.
Is it Cesar Romero instead?
I was about to
Maybe,
say that.
it may be. to
I
be
wanted.
honest with you.
I wish my head voice was Jack Nicholson, but it's not. It's the voice from the cartoon.
I'm glad my head voice isn't Jack Nicholson.
Red Rum.
Right.
So moving on, last but not least, I got one of those new shiny Marvel number ones.
Yeah,
this
you
week.
did.
The one I was excited about, I actually talked about last week, was Ant-Man and the Wasp by Mark Waid, Javier Garron, and Israel Silva. It seems like it's kind of a newish take on the characters. They've sort of implemented a little bit from the movie. No surprise, because they're
Of course, yeah.
coming out with a new movie. It's kind of funny because it started off talking about how great and amazing Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne were, and then when it gets to the bottom, it's like, this is not their story. So then we go into Nadia Van Dyne and Scott Lang, who are the new Ant-Man and Wasp.
And they're the ones that are going to be in the film as
And
well.
yeah, through one way or another, somehow Scott has gotten himself transported across the universe and is stuck at a planet. And we start off with him telling Nadia, like, "Come on, you're super smart. Just beam me away. Get me back."
Scotty.
Yeah. He mentions his daughter, so that's going to be a part in the series too. Because, like, I know in the past, at least as far as I can remember, in Civil War, she was grown up and she had started taking on the mantle and stuff like that. So I guess they're going with a younger, like the movies, version of her. Like
I would imagine they're going back to her being younger.
Yeah, she comes up with this plan of like, you got to get on this teleporter and you have to move at this exact same time that I do, or else something's gonna fuck up. Of course, Scott fucks it up, and so he's like zipping through the microverse, and she has to rush through and fly and try to catch him out of it, and she ends up falling into it in a scene that takes merely 10 seconds for her. He's been there a few weeks already.
Yeah.
And they wind up in this weird land of the microverse where there are these ultraviolet beings, and they're trying to attach themselves to them, because if you notice, like, they have every color in them except for red, and both of their suits are red, so they kind of need to absorb that for some reason. It's weird. It doesn't make sense. The big takeaway from the book that I got that I thought was kind of funny is they really established the characters as Nadia Van Dyne is definitely book smarts, whereas Scott Lang is street smarts.
Yeah.
Right.
And you don't really, because I always kind of considered them being like a couple, sort of, because there seemed to be a little bit of chemistry with them from the movies.
Well, she's super young in the book.
I was going to
She's
say,
like
yeah.
16 in this book.
So I was a little surprised whenever they had that age difference, because he's in his 30s. He's like 35 or something.
Yours
It's
is
the same
the film
character from
version.
the
Yeah,
film.
yeah.
But
Right.
in the book,
Because I've read less Ant-Man in the comics than I've seen.
well, Nadia showed up just recently, maybe
'Cause
a couple years ago in the Avengers.
Yeah.
And she actually was being held in Russia as like a scientist. They're trying to get the Pym particles
Right.
from her.
Yeah,
stuff,
and they actually mentioned that in the back of it, and they also I think Mark Waid or whoever did the back letter had mentioned, because she just had a little mini series too.
Mhm.
They're sitting here and they're going through trying to figure out, to get out of this. They run into some trouble. She asks him, like, "Why didn't you just throw yourself and get out of this?" And he's like, he didn't realize, like, he's like on a really, really tiny atom of something in outer space, and I could be standing on the back of a space vampire or some shit, which is like the weirdest, dumbest shit ever. But hey, it's the Marvel universe, and these things happen occasionally.
Foreshadowing Space Vampire in the next issue.
It may very well be.
They find out that there is some kind of danger to these ultraviolet sentient people. They're desperate.
Really?
And this thing is basically going around killing them. She had Nadia is just basically like, well, we don't know what their life cycle is like. This could be normal for them. Scott's like, well, you want to know what I think? You know, an average guy who just has this suit, they're living creatures and they're in pain. So they're like, okay, well, we're heroes, so we have to save the day. So they go and they end up destroying this monster. Some things happen to Nadia by the end of the book.
Yeah, don't reveal that.
Yeah, I'm not. It's interesting. I mean, I just really enjoyed it. It was a fun book. Out of the number ones that I read this week, which weren't a whole lot, I've got Hulk in my box. I picked up Deadpool, and I picked up this. And was there another one? I can't remember.
Yeah, Doctor Strange and Justice League.
Okay.
Which Justice League
was
is DC.
yeah.
There was also a Dazzler #1.
That was the week before.
Oh, was
Okay.
it?
Yeah.
But no, I had a lot of fun with this. The art was really great. With all the ultraviolet lights and all the colors and stuff in it, it was very vibrant and really pretty. The new costume designs and stuff that they're using for them, the way that they portray the characters was really fun. I just really enjoyed the book. Another little fun tidbit that they did at the very end of it, to start off like their letters column, they wrote a letter, and it was it's titled Nick, and I'm not really sure if that's maybe the editor, but the way they did it is they put it in super tiny print. So unless you can put your face directly up to it and read it, you need a magnifying glass.
On your phone.
Yeah, it's true. But I thought that was a nice little touch, and that was pretty hilarious. And I enjoyed the book.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I think you may have sold me on that. I'm going to have to go
Yeah.
check it out next time I go up to Capone.
Yeah.
And it is a miniseries, so it's something you can jump
Oh,
on,
okay.
read the series. I think it's going to be 6 issues and be done. So
Yeah.
I'm going to have to check that out. That sounds
It's not a lifetime commitment.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was like what you talked about, the street smarts versus book smart
Mhm.
dynamic. I always like that kind of mashup. And
yeah.
you're making it sound like a real interesting dynamic between the two. I'm going to have to go check that book out.
Yeah, it's really fun, and it seems like they're doing the science justice,
Right.
as far as the theoretical science of microverse and PIM particles and all that.
So as Jerry said, there was a lot more #1s that came out this week, and we don't have time to talk about all of them. So we're just going to do a quick go around, and I'm going to mention the books. If you read them, give a thumbs up, thumbs down, or a thumb straight across, I guess, if you wanted to. So Deadpool, you just got it. You haven't read it yet.
Thumbs down. No, I wasn't crazy about it, to be honest.
Deadpool.
Thumbs up with an asterisk, or thumbs even, because kind of the same boat.
Yeah.
Flipped through it twice to convince myself to buy it and didn't. So thumbs down, no interest.
I took a thumb. I'm going to take a thumb sideways on it because it's going to depend what happens in the next couple of books. There's some things that happened that I liked and some that I didn't care about.
And
So.
the art was good, and I mean it's Scotty Young.
Yeah.
So we'll see what he's got planned.
Justice League #1.
I hadn't read it.
Thumbs down.
Same thing. Flipped through it twice, trying to convince myself to start it up. Can't do it. Didn't look good.
I want to like this book.
I read it 4 times wanting to like it.
It's at this point gets a thumbs down. We'll see where it goes from there, but at this point, a thumbs down for me as well.
Had a fun moment of it where they were making fun of Batman, though, and I will say that because I don't want to completely drag it through the mud.
Doctor Strange.
I haven't read it. I haven't even flipped through it. I'm not a huge Doctor Strange fan, but I thought of him being in space is interesting.
Yeah.
So thumb sideways, I guess.
Abstain because I have not read it.
Didn't even notice it on the shelf sideways.
So Doctor Strange is a character I really want to like a book of his, but I'm really tired of the story they're telling. So it gets a thumbs down for me because I'll keep reading it to see where it goes. But
It's
right
the whole
now,
he's lost his abilities.
he's lost his magic again. So
Yeah.
and so he goes into space to try and bring magic back to Earth.
Wow.
So that
All right.
it was a thumbs down for me. And then, did anybody read Dazzler?
I did.
Okay, thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs up.
Okay, good.
Thumbs way up.
Also flipped through it.
It's a
and
one-shot.
Didn't grab me.
So it's a one shot.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah. It's on series. Good stuff. I enjoyed it, but without getting too much into it, that particular book speaks to niche communities that that are gatekeeping. So you can be that, you can talk about it being the comic book community that doesn't want other people to come in, or the gay community that, a lot of gay people have problems with trans people being in stuff, or a lot of trans people don't like gay people. Anyway, so it speaks to inclusions of niche communities to help each other out, and I think that's a beautiful message, and I like mags. So
there you go.
Well, all right. Well, there were a ton more books to read, and unfortunately, we don't have the unlimited time or funds to afford the digital space to
to talk about all of them,
Right.
even though we wish we could. As always, get to your local comic shop, get online, see what's coming out, go pick up some books. If there are books that you are reading and you really, really want us to talk about, or you just want to talk about it with us, reach out to us on social media, reach out to us anywhere you can find us, send us an email at southernfriedgeekery@gmail.com, and let us know, and we'll talk to you about it. And we'll talk about it on the show just because that's what we really, really enjoy doing.
And don't forget, we can now accept comments on YouTube.
On
as
YouTube,
well.
on Instagram and Twitter at sfgpodcast.com, and as always, our Facebook page, Southern Fried Geekery Podcast. So we don't just like.
Sorry, I just realized when we mentioned we're on YouTube, the channel on YouTube is specifically called Southern Fried Geekery Podcast.
Oh, cool. Same thing as our Facebook page. So
Indeed. So we had to differentiate because somebody has put 3 black and white movies under the Southern Fried Geekery channel. That's all they've done with it.
I mean, go ahead
If
and
you're-
watch those if you want.
I mean, whatever, more power to them, but come on, bro, give us that name.
So go to all of those spaces and find them and get back with us. Let us know what you're reading and what you want us to talk about, what you want us to read, and we'll do it because we love new suggestions. We talk to each other and we want to talk to you guys too. But we're not just going to promote some books that came out last week that you can go out and buy right now. New Comic Book Day is on Wednesday. Every Wednesday, new comic books flood the market. They hit the stands. They end up in GameStop, hopefully. They do all kinds of things. And if you're desperate enough, you can get out and find them because that's the word of the day. So we want to get ahead of ourselves a little bit and talk about a few books that's coming out next week that we want to read. So the book I want to talk about is Bloodstrike number 0. It's written and drawn by Michael Fife, who that name is familiar, but I'm not 100% where I know it from.
Michael Fife hasn't done a tremendous amount of stuff, and I really am doing him a disservice for getting this book, but he has a book that he puts up and he sells, I believe, on Etsy. But it's essentially like his take on Suicide Squad.
Oh,
It's
okay.
really freaking cool.
Okay.
But definitely look that up.
This is called Bloodstrike Brutalist number 0, and like I said, it's written and drawn by Michael Fife. It's part 1 in the spirit of Bloodstrike's groundbreaking carnage. The creator behind the indie hit Copra, apparently that's
That's it. Yep.
shines a light on Image's most extreme series. Witness the origin of Cabot as he launches an undead strike force upon the world. It looks like when 90s Image first came out.
I think it was one of the
I think
early
so.
Image books, like either LaField or had something to do with it, or it may have been another one of his.
He's got a lot of pouches, so very well could
I
be.
believe this was one of the original Image characters.
I feel like
or teams.
I feel like he was on that book. If he wasn't one of the original creators, he was on it at different times.
Yeah.
So. All right, Jerry.
What you
Oh
got?
shit! I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention to the order. I've got there are 2 books that I'm really excited about. Venom number 2 comes out, which will surprise nobody because I've been into that. But the one that I didn't think I was going to be picking up next week, which I was talking about DC pulling me in, Suicide Squad number 43. It's Rob Williams writing, Eduardo Pensica and Francesco Mattina. They got me because I was on Instagram the other day and Rob Williams posted a page of a couple panels that Captain Cold was on the team.
Yeah.
And you guys know how I love my obscure characters.
Would you
And
call Captain Cold
I'm gonna say-
obscure anymore?
You're right.
I'd argue
He's not
He's
obscure.
probably prominent.
he's
Um,
now. Granted, the other speedsters get more attention,
Yeah.
but Cole's a prominent.
Yeah,
Flash
that's true. I mean, he is
But I
like
get
the
what you're
leader of the Rogues and everything.
But these days, he's not the first one you think when you think Flash. You think Revert Flash or all that.
Yeah. So I actually, luckily, because I saw that those panels and stuff, found out that they let Captain Cold join from the new storyline that they're doing called Constriction, where Deadshot's daughter has been kidnapped. Batman breaks into Bel Rev, where he's being kept from Suicide Squad, to help Deadshot save his daughter from this like crazy murder gang. And
Those
it's
damn murder games.
yeah, I know. And
As opposed to the larceny.
that's Savage Dragon. That's what we call the Savage Dragon people, larcenies. So,
I need to let Eric Larson know that.
You're welcome.
That needs to be a thing.
Hashtag larceny gang.
but at the end of issue 41, they debuted that their newest asset is Captain Cold, and they had some hilarious back to back with him basically insulting Captain Boomerang. the whole issue because Captain Boomerang's dumb as fuck. Apparently.
That's become a new development with him.
Yeah. I enjoy it. I love the witty feedback from them. But I'm pretty much down with it for as long as they have Captain Cold, which I'm very hard pressed because they've got fucking Harley Quinn in that, and I'm hating every minute of that.
I can believe it.
Yep, Captain Cole got me.
Martin Harley is not a favorite of mine either.
Yeah. But all right.
So what are you looking forward to, Sean?
A book that's kind of got my interest right off the jump is actually a Domino. Issue number 3 is coming out, written by Gail Simone, art by David Balden. And again, it's an amazingly written Gail Simone story with Domino.
David Baldion, if you would like to come on the show and fight Sean because he mispronounced your name, let me know.
Also, not implying you were actually Balding. I see what I said. But again, Domino is still having issues with her luck powers, which we know is one of the big factors in her success as a mercenary.
That's her. That's her mutant power. Yeah.
But luckily, the gang is back together with Outlaw and Diamondback helping her out, and what they're hinting at is a very special, very secret guest in this next issue. So, of course, I'm curious, as if you've been reading, she's had a party with a lot of her friends, so we don't know if it's going to be someone we've seen earlier jumping in to help her, or a brand new character they haven't shown yet in this book.
Issue 1 and 2 were really good.
It's been amazing, because, it's Gail Simone writing interesting characters, interesting women characters especially.
Really cute puppies.
Damn cute puppies. But yeah, looking forward to that next week.
So the book I'm desperate to read this next week
we got
is another Gail Simone book,
Yes.
Plastic Man #1.
I was just thinking if somebody was going to talk about that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I've loved Plastic Man since I was a kid, and he had the cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
So he's just zany and goofy, and he really deserves his own book, and I hope it's successful. Gail Simone's writing it with Adriana Mello and Aaron Lopresti on it, so I'm excited for that book. I don't know what it'll be about, other than Plastic Man being stupid, I'm sure. But,
Gail Simone and Aaron, I don't care about that character at all, but Gail Simone and Aaron Lopresti makes me want to pick it up.
Go back to the 80s and watch the cartoon.
Yeah.
Then you'll care.
Possibly. Anyway, so guys, do we have any other business we need to attend to, or are we about ready to wrap this thing up?
Let's wrap it up.
All right. Well, hey, out there in Radio Land, thanks for listening. As always, we're going on about 2 hours right now, which is about the usual time that you have dedicated to listen to us just banter. And we really appreciate it because time is a valuable thing, and we like it to spend it with you. So if you enjoyed what you've heard, and as always, we really hope you have, and if you happen to be one of the people who subscribes to us on iTunes, do us a favor. We implore you. We would appreciate it if you would get on iTunes and leave us a review, preferably a good one. But if you don't like what you've heard, leave us any kind and let us know how we're doing. It's a way that we can judge ourselves. It's a way that we know what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. And we want to provide the best show that we possibly can. We're taking great steps to do that. And we would appreciate the feedback from our audience. As we've said numerous times in this, we are on Twitter, we are on Instagram, we are on Facebook, and now, because of Sean's awesomeness, we are on YouTube. All of those places you can reach us at, and you can talk to us. You can leave comments, questions, concerns, chit-chat with us, share pictures. We have a hashtag Southern Fried Fam. If you put on that, we follow it, we'll see it, we'll comment it, you can bring us to you. It's a really cool way to use social media to talk to our friends, and that's what we consider you guys. You can email us anything except nudes, unless you want to, at Southern Fried Geekery Podcast at gmail.com. We would love.
Basically, you just ask the listeners to email us nudes.
We're about to get so many D pics.
As long as you're of age and consenting, do what you do, boo-boo.
I need a copy of your driver's license, and preferably your.
This is going downhill real quick.
Yeah. Anyway, this is shit.
As it did towards the end of the episode.
Anyway, come back for more, and if there's nothing else, go forth and love some comics.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
There we go. All right, guys. We'll see y'all later. Love you.